First, maybe a little back more. Today is the first day of our trimester 2 concepts. Technically, it's not trimester 2, technically, but it is when today's the day we start to move away from the basics of California. The basics meaning is this thing on? There we go. So this is where we move away from the basics of the geography and the regions, and we go towards instead not just how California is now, but just like I put in the thread, I want us to start in on learning about how California has changed, and then the rest of studying about California is about how it has changed and how it continues to change. Because, California as it is right now in 2020, it hasn't always been like this. And when you think about it, I think you all know deep down inside, California hasn't always been like this. You know that, and it's not always going to be like this. California is going to change. The people in it, right? When you think about how change happens, sometimes change happens slowly. I've been thinking about that, and in our country and how things happen slowly, and sometimes we feel impatient. Sometimes I feel impatient, and we want change to happen faster. Sometimes change can be something that benefits a small group of people. We could change something in our classroom, right? We could change something like me, for example. I'm changing the way I teach. I have to change the way I teach because there's no one here. So I have to change the way I teach, and the way I change, I change my teaching styles, and that could help some students, and maybe it's not helping other students. So change, just because it's changed, doesn't mean it's always good. And what we're going to learn is we're going to learn about during Native American History Month, which is November. We're going to learn about the change that affected and continues to affect the first peoples of the continent and the country that we're in, that's currently called the United States of America. Wasn't always called that. We're going to learn about the change that happened over hundreds of years. But before that, we're actually going to learn about the first ever people who arrived here. So there's a lot. There's a whole lot to cover. I sometimes feel like in fourth grade, if we just learned about the first peoples, indigenous Americans, American Indian tribes, that could be a whole year. It could be a whole college thesis. But we'll do our best. I think we have maybe 7 weeks, 8 weeks to do this, and this will, definitely take us through November. So come join me on the rug over here. If you have this map, great. I considered painting it, but painting will come later. So if you just get a pencil, this map, if you have this book, that might be good too. We're just going to meet on the table and going to walk you through some basics for November. All right. Yeah, feels good. So what I like to do is I like to kind of start with that, that right there. So I like to start with that and switch it around now. There we go. Okay. Start with that. I think some of you have already learned about the Ohlone. Oh, the other thing I'll do is I'll get if you have the bucket, or no, you don't have the bucket. You don't have the turn into But you have the contents. So if you have the contents of that tub, that'd be good too. And also wanted, all right, so if you have this, great. We're just going to use the maps out of there. All right. So the school, when excuse me, when I started teaching, when I started teaching, I had not taught California American Indian history, because as someone who grew up in a different state, my awareness of the state of California and the history of the native peoples there is different. I was far more used to this. The rise and fall of the Hawaiian Kingdom, and I learned about the first peoples in Hawaii, and what their lives were like, and how the indigenous people, the indigenous Hawaiians, what happened to them when the Europeans sailed to Hawaii and interacted peacefully and not so peacefully with the Hawaiians. That was my frame of reference. So it actually helped when learning about the different tribes like the Chumash, and the Ohlone, right? The languages, sorry, I'm going a little faster. So let's go back to, here we go. So from this, take out, if you will, that large map, and of course, make sure your name and numbers on it, even though it's just you, because eventually I'd like for you to turn these in. So the Ohlone map is a good one. The continent of North America is another good map to have. And finally, which is actually, it's funny, I ended with the first, that map. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, these two are different subject. These 4 maps is how we're going to start our examination of the first peoples of California. So, as you can see from here, our region, here we go. So our region map looks very close to our American Indian tribes map. We have, I put fix here because I still have the Tahoe Basin and the Sierra Foothills. So as you can see, there are coast, right? There are groups, there are tribes. The Chumash, starting down here, we have the Chumash and Gabrielino tribes of the South Coast. So Chumash, you can see, are here. Gabrielino is a little further south there. Working up the coast, you're going to see, can you find Pomo in the North Coast? Oh, notice that I went from South Coast because Chumash that's pretty central. So South Coast, the North Coast includes Yurok, Hupa, and Pomo. And you remember, of course, North Coast is everything in this area. So Yurok up here. Hupa is in the middle. I see Pomo. I'm having trouble finding Hupa. North Coast. Oh, it's off the actual coast. So it's a little bit, Hupa is a little bit inland. It's right there. So those are the coast tribes. Then the other 2 regions that are included here are the Central Valley and Mountain. So those are combined. The Central Valley and Mountain are the Maidu, the Miwok, and the Yokut. Now I'm finding the Yokut here, and I've found the Miwok here. And the Maidu are actually further up. That's what we on this call the Northeast. I'm pretty sure that would qualify. Maidu would qualify as Northeast too. And then finally, the last 2. We kind of did this motion as we go around, Kahuila and Mojave. Now, for me, the Mojave is easy to find because I remember that the Mojave Desert is down here. So Mojave is here. And on this map, it's spelled with an H. I spelled it with a J. I've seen both spellings. I think the modern spelling is with a J. And the Kahuila are, down there. So actually really close. The Kahuila, they stretch from, if you notice here, it's the desert, what we call the desert or Southern California, through the Central Valley and almost to the coast. And now what is important, I think this might help too. What's important to notice is that the tribes were not fixed. We have a tendency with these, right? We look at this, we look at the regions, and we think of the counties of California. The First Nations, the first peoples who lived here, they didn't draw lines like counties. They had territories. They had areas that they lived, and they moved in and out of each other's territory. So they interacted a lot with each other. So more on that later. The reason I the reason I sent this this map home, was it illustrates how the first scientists believe the first people arrived from, this is Asia, East and Central Asia, and traveled by land across what's called the Beringia, this bridge. So a long time ago, the water levels were lower. So what they did was they walked, scientists believe, they walked where this blue arrow went. They went up here. There was a large sheet, this white X'd out area, that's a sheet of ice. And this was an area they resided. And then they walked down, they followed the green or red arrows and walked down. And then this white icy area, it didn't stay icy. It changed, it melted. Temperature changed, the ice changed. So what happened to the sea level? That also changed. And scientists, historians, figure that what happened next was, rather than return the way their ancestors arrived, they continued down and populated the rest of what's now the United States of America. This is Mexico, and Canada's up there. But for thousands of years, these were the people that lived where we now live. And to zoom in further to the Bay Area, I'll hold up, where's my map? Here we go. So these two, this map is a close-up of this. So imagine almost like that. All right, I think you can see that. So notice that the large group in this map says Ohlone, and here that says Costanoan. So speaking of change, we're going to change. I want you to take a pencil, and we're going to circle Costanoan, and we're going to change that. We're going to change that to Ohlone. And the reason we're going to change that is because when the Native Americans had been where they lived, and these tribes had been here, eventually European explorers, which is the next subject that we concentrate on, California, changing state. These European explorers knew their language. They didn't know the language of the native people. So they gave the people names that made sense to them. And you'll notice Costanoan, the beginning of that word, looks like coast. So that was the name that the Spanish explorers gave to the Ohlone. Ohlone. All right, so Costanoan, we're changing that to Ohlone. And a lot of you, let me go back actually. why don't you, I'm going to open up the stream. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Good. Oh yeah. So can you, those of you who have it open, instead of breaking our record of comments, I'd like to just focus on a quality of contents, not the number of contents, if that makes sense to you. So I would like for you, and try to keep two windows open here. I would like for you all to tell me something you know about the Ohlone people, because in the past, my students have said, oh, the Ohlone, Mr. Corcoran, we know the Ohlone. And you would tell me about, yeah, Lena, I actually have one of the, where's that book? I think it's the Rainbow Bridge. It's a good question, Lena. In about, what is it now, 11:06? Yeah, 11:06. So at 11:15, oh, maybe not, 11:10. But 11:10, I'll read the Rainbow Bridge, which is an origin story for the Chumash, which is actually, where is it? Right here. So yeah, good question, Lena. Rainbow Bridge is our read aloud, and that's happening very soon. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, Ohlone. Anybody remember? I see Shreya and Lena and Tenzin Namgyal and Sapphire. So anything you all remember about the Ohlone people? I was hoping, so the California textbook starts with California Indians, and usually when I go to that, as soon as I get to the Ohlone part, Coast-to-No, and this book has not been updated. Pomo, yeah. So this is this type of shelter. This is a Pomo shelter, but there was a shelter, a type of shelter. And when I show it, so this is a different type of house. Notice the Kumeyaay house looks different than that house, and it looks different from this shelter. Let's see what else. Oh, canoes, that's it. Starts with the word T. T something, something, something. And it's a certain type of plant. Yeah. No guesses yet, huh? Yeah, the Yocut houses. Now these houses were made of thicker trees. Okay. We're gonna learn about the gathering of acorns. All right, we've got different artifacts. Coastal Miwok, Mojave, more Miwok. That's a baby cradle there. Oh, and another Mojave. Miss Jaramillo. Oh, so Tenzin said Miss Jaramillo read this one, the Rainbow Bridge. See, now I wonder what you remember from the Rainbow Bridge. Miss Jaramillo read it to you. Cool. Oh, a clay pot from a Mojave woman from over 100 years ago. This photo was taken in 1900. All right. So it's interesting how thousands of years of history. Yep, and there we go. So this that chapter that I just flipped through, that's thousands of years of history in one chapter. They traditionally. Oh, so I see. So you were hoping for the rough face girl. Well, the rough face girl, I'll read that because it is Native American History Month. So I will get to that. But first I wanted to focus on the Rainbow Bridge, because that is the Chumash tribe. And the rough face girl, I don't think that's a California, I'll have to double check, but I do not think that's a California tribe origin story or traditional story. All right, so this was all what we covered already. And then this is where we are for chapter, is this 2? Yeah, chapter 2, California Indians. So this is our focus for this month. I'm going to share parts of these books because the California history textbooks, some of these, they'll blah, blah, blah. All right, here we go. So the The story, the Rainbow Bridge, the story that I'm reading is a traditional story from the Chumash tribe, this is the territory in the southern, I say central to southern coast. All right, and there's more. The Chumash tribe. This is a nonfiction book, so this is informational text, and this will be something I share with you at another time. And this talks about their methods of hunting, how they collected tule to make either canoes, shelter like that. All right. So the Rainbow Bridge. Let's bring this down so you can see a little better here. And then I even use this so you can see it a little better. All right. What are we doing here? Not too bad. All right. So I can keep so here I have the comment section open. Cool. All right. Rainbow Bridge by Audrey Wood, and paintings by Robert Forzak. And this was inspired by a Chumash tale. Storyteller's note. For thousands of years, the Chumash Indians occupied an area of the central California coast from what is now Los Angeles northward to San Luis Obispo County. From early times, they were a peaceful and artistic people with distinctive social and spiritual culture. Their basketry and cave paintings rank among the most outstanding in North America, but their most famous invention was a plank canoe called the tomo. The canoe enabled them to travel long distances along the coast and along the Santa Barbara Channel to trade with villagers on nearby islands. So the islands they're talking about are these islands here. So this tale is going to involve those canoes and these islands. Okay. All right. So I'll finish the rest of that introduction after the story, or after I finish. All right. On the island of Limu, where the heavens touch the sea, Hutash, the earth goddess, walked alone. The birds and sea lions, flowers and trees were all her friends, but still Hutash was not happy. The earth goddess longed to share her island home with people made in her own image. When the time was right, Hutash climbed the highest mountain on Limu and gathered seeds from a sacred plant. Casting the seeds before her, she spoke, "As there are seeds scattered upon the earth, so shall there be people." The seeds took root within the fertile soil and grew into plants. But when they opened, instead of flowering, people, male, female, young and old, stepped forth. This was the beginning of the Chumash tribe. The earth goddess was pleased with the people. They were like her children, and she loved them. That night, Hutash raised her arms and called to her husband, the Milky Way, "Great wise sky snake, behold the Chumash people who are beautiful and strong of limb." Hearing her call, Sky Snake wrapped himself in a cloak of light and came down from his place in the heavens. He moved among the sleeping Chumash and looked into their faces. Sky Snake's heart went out to the people, and he loved them as if they were his children. "It is true," he said, "the Chumash are beautiful and strong, but see how they sleep on the cold ground and have no warm food to eat." Sky Snake returned to his home in the heavens and made a gift for the people. Opening his mouth, he stuck out his tongue and sent a lightning bolt to Limu. Where the lightning struck, a fire began to burn. Awakening from their cold sleep, the Chumash gathered joyfully around the fire. They danced and sang many praises. In the moons that followed, they learned how to keep the fire burning so that no one was cold at night. And they learned how to cook their food on the glowing embers. All right. So in the chat, anyone have any predictions about what's going to happen next? Because so far So far, we've gone from the goddess, Hutash, the goddess, on an island, creating the people. Right? A lot of different cultures have creation stories. The seeds become the not more flowers but people, and the sky snake comes down, and the tongue of the sky snake, which is a really interesting image to me, the tongue of the serpent becomes fire. Next, now the Chumash grew in numbers until the village became busy and crowded. But once again, Hutash was not happy. Too many children trampled flowers and frightened animals away. Too many mothers cooked on fires and sang to their infants. Too many fathers chanted and danced into the night. The earth goddess could not sleep. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her head throbbed from so much noise. Something had to be done. Hutash entered the village to talk to the Chumash people, but one after another they would not listen. Everyone was too loud and busy. Aye, the goddess cried. What am I to do? So here we have people, right? People from long ago. There's so many of them. It's so crowded and busy and noisy, and the animals, these poor animals, they look frightened to me. And the earth goddess, who this is their children aren't listening to their parents. Woof. The goddess says, what is the goddess to do? Here we go. In the shade of a hut, a boy and a girl were quietly weaving baskets. Quietly. Notice the difference. Noisy people, quiet people. The two friends recognized the goddess and saw that she was weary. So they invited her inside. The girl offered the goddess a bowl of acorn porridge. The boy filled a seashell with spring water and set it before her. Hutash tasted the porridge and then spoke. Tell the people that Limu has grown crowded. In 3 days, half of you must leave and go to the land across the water. The other half may stay on my island. Half and half. Although he was frightened, the boy spoke up. How can our people cross the ocean? The other land is far away. They will drown. Hutash finished her porridge, drank the spring water, and wiped her lips. Tell the people that in 3 days I will build them a bridge, she said. Those who have chosen to leave will cross over the water on my bridge. Without looking back, the goddess left the hut and climbed the highest mountain on Limu. When the boy and girl showed their people the bowl Hutash had eaten from and the seashell from which she had quenched her thirst, the Chumash listened. That day, they held a great council and decided who should go to the new land and who should remain on Limu. In 3 days, the village awakened to a wondrous sight. A rainbow bridge stretched from the highest mountain on Limu to the highest mountain on the land across the water. Soon, families began to gather at the bridge. The girl's family was the first in line. The boy's family followed behind. When it came time to cross over, some of the Chumash were afraid, so Hutash gave them her blessing. Go forth and fill the world with many children, she said. With her blessing in their ears, the people began their journey across the rainbow. However, halfway over, the boy grew curious. How can people walk through the sky on such a bridge, he wondered. Looking down through the rainbow at the rolling waves and the swirling fog, the boy grew dizzy. Although he tried to walk straight, he lost his balance and tumbled off the bridge. As he fell, he called out to the girl for help, but she did not hear. The boy was not alone. Some of the other Chumash had also looked down and were falling into the sea. It's at this point I start to wonder, what's the moral here? What's going to happen? It's such a long way to fall. On the island of Limu, the earth goddess heard their cries and saw that they were drowning. Hutash loved the people and could not bear to lose a single one. With a wave of her hand, the goddess swept away the fog and calmed the sea. Then she spoke. As there are people who walk upon the land, so shall there be people who swim in the ocean. With that, Hutash turned the drowning Chumash into dolphins, and they were saved. Over here, very hard to see, but there are dolphins dancing, jumping out of the water. As the last person stepped off the bridge and onto the land, the earth goddess pursed her lips and blew into the sky. The rainbow bridge disappeared. Hutash looked about her and was pleased. Peace and happiness had returned to the island of Limu. Less crowded, less noisy maybe. But all was not well on the new land. At the foot of the bridge, the girl waited in vain for her friend. When the rainbow bridge disappeared, she knew he had fallen into the ocean and she feared he was drowning. Bitter tears fell from the girl's eyes as she ran down the mountain, across the beach, and dove into the sea. She called out to her friend, hoping he would hear, but the boy was nowhere in sight. Then, from all sides, rising out of the waves, dolphins, male and female, old and young, surrounded the swimming girl, jumping into the air, and dolphins called to each other in their whistling voices. One young dolphin boldly swam closer than all the rest. The girl looked into its dark eyes and was not afraid. She encircled its neck with her arms. Her sadness disappeared, for the girl understood then what the Chumash understand to this day. The dolphins of the sea are brothers and sisters of their tribe. The colors, I'll really like to do another read aloud where I can allow people to pause and really look at the painting, the light coming through from the water onto the dolphin, onto the girl swimmer, and the brother of the dolphin. It's really, really pretty. All right. So it is time for me to hustle. I have a math group next. So this is our introduction to the tribes. Our focus for this, cycle for these weeks are going to be the North Coast tribes, these three, the South Coast tribes, these two, the Central Valley and Mountain, those three tribes, and then the Kahuila and Mojave, which are the two desert tribes we focus on. So more info on that. I highly, highly recommend taking these items, keeping them safe. Your classmate pointed out that we do not have a California history folder. Hopefully that's something I can fix. All right, everyone. Gonna go meet with that group. And the rest of you I'll see for math. Double check the schedule. It's been changed. Yep, it's all about change. Okay, be well, everyone. Aloha and au revoir.